let's look at how to solve for total mechanical energy. So first things first, we've got our list of information up here identifying what each variable is measured in. We've got our problem right here, and then the blank list that we're going to fill in based off of our problem given. I'm going to start by reading the problem. A 1.1 kilogram toy car is rolling 4 meters per second across a 2 meter tall counter. What is the mechanical energy of the toy car? Assume we are on Earth. So what I like to do is start by identifying what the question is asking me to find. If I look right here inside the question, this is the actual question inside the question. What is the mechanical energy of the toy car? So that tells me in my list my mechanical energy is unknown, so I'm going to put a question mark to say I don't know. I'm then going to go back to the beginning of the question and reread it and identify as I come across information. A 1.1 kilogram toy car. So I see the unit kilogram right here. If I look in my list, just in case I forget, I can see kilograms lines up with mass. So in my list, I'm going to put 1.1 kilograms as my mass. I'm then going to continue on where I left off. This toy car is rolling 4 meters per second. Again, rolling is telling me that my car is moving, which means I have a velocity. M/s, if I look at my list, is right here. That lines up with velocity. So 4 m/s, or 4 meters per second, must be my velocity. Picking back up, this toy car is rolling across a 2 meter tall counter. Tallness is a measure of height. It's just another word for height. So I can also match that up by looking at my unit here, meters, that's h. So my height is going to be 2 meters. We've already got our question, so I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to read this last sentence here. Assume we are on Earth. That's very important because it's telling us our gravity is going to be 9.8. Anytime you are on Earth, you're going to use 9.8 for gravity, and that's 9.8 meters per second squared. All right, we've got our information, and the next thing we need to do is get our equation. If we are dealing with mechanical energy, we're going to need the equation for mechanical energy. Let me pull that up. All right, I've got my equation here. So what I'm going to do is take my numbers from my list over here and pop them into the correct spots in my equation. I'm going to start from the beginning of the equation with the ME. Looking at my list, my ME is a question mark. So when I go to rewrite my equation, I'm going to leave that as an ME. I'm just going to move through the equation. I'm going to copy down everything I see. So equal sign, I'm going to copy that. I see a 0.5, so I'm going to copy that. Now, I see an M here. I need to look at my list first to see if I know the number for the M. And in this case, I do. The M is a 1.1. So in parentheses, I'm going to put 1.1. And I'm using parentheses to keep the numbers separate and to remind myself these are being multiplied. After the M is a V. In my list, I do know what V is. It's 4. So again, in parentheses, I'm going to put 4. And don't forget to square it. This velocity is squared, so I'm going to add a square to the parentheses. Continuing on, I've got my plus, so I'll put plus. I've got my M again, which I know is 1.1. After M is G, which is 9.8. And then after G is H, which is, in my list, it's a 2. All right, now that I have my numbers plugged into the equation, I can start to solve it. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you copy this down and follow along and kind of create a set of notes to use in the future. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to multiply everything I can. And I'm going to start by multiplying all of this and all of this. Let me get a calculator. All right, I've got my calculator. What I'm going to do is take these three numbers here, the 0.5, the 1.1, and the 4 squared, and multiply them in my calculator. 0.5 times 1.1, but that's in parentheses. Parentheses you don't have to put, but it's good just to keep things clear. I'm going to multiply that with 4 inside parentheses. And I need to make sure I square my 4 by clicking this button. All right, so after I hit equals, I can see that 0.5 times 1.1 times 4 squared is 8.8. So I'm going to add that over here. I'm going to write that underneath. 8.8. I'm going to do the same thing with the 1.1, the 9.8, and the 2. So let me clear my calculator. 1.1 times, in parentheses, 9.8 times, in parentheses, 2 equals 21.56. And I will write that underneath. All right, I need to make sure I bring down the rest of my equation. I have a plus here. I have an ME equals over here. And my equation is now complete. ME is equal to 8.8 plus 21.56. The last thing I need to do is just add together the 8.8 and the 21.56. So let's do that in the calculator. Clear this. 8.8 plus 21.56 equals 30.36. So underneath I'm going to write 30.36. I'm going to bring down the ME equals. And I can see there's no math left to do, so this must be my answer. I just need to make sure I don't forget to put the unit for ME, and I can double check what that is up in my list here. ME is measured in joules. So the answer to my equation is 30.36 joules.